meeting to order and have the roll call. I believe we do have a quorum.
Yes, ma'am, we do have a quorum.
All right, we're on their agenda. Are there any agenda modifications?
Yes, ma'am, we're going to pull item 5F, which is the FHWA certification report. Probably come back in January. Next is the consent agenda.
Do we have a motion or anything to be pulled?
We needed to approve the modifications.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Let's approve the agenda as modified.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've got a step ahead of us. We're pulling 5F. We need to go back and move the agenda modifications.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Okay, we're on the consent agenda. Anybody have an issue? Anything
Yes,
on
ma'am.
consent?
Well, only two significant things besides the meeting calendar and the minutes is an approval of the consultant website implementation. That's a work order for $34,000. We've approved the development of it. And the second one is projects for the FTA, JARC, and New Freedoms projects. One of the things that's of significance here is $100,000 for Gaston County for the continuation of the Gaston County Express, which will be a match by the county. And the other projects are projects from Star Metro for wheelchair vehicles.
Anything else on consent? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Our next item, Harry.
The next item is TIP amendments, and I did get these out. I think all of you have gotten copies of these, but I do have charts that kind of break down the send these around.
If you don't have one of those, take
Yeah,
one.
if you don't have one, then you can take a look at it. What I've tried to do with this was show you how the projects broke out. And what came about was a result of some changes in the way the funds are being advanced by the department based on the Federal Highway Administration requirement that the funds be committed are obligated in the year in which they're authorized. So what we were able to do in this case was about $2.5 million of projects were moved forward. So what you see here on this chart is represented by the wording in the TIP.
Which one we on, Madam Chair?
On 4.
Okay, thank you.
4A, sir.
Mayor, do you need a motion for this item?
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion, but I'd like to change on Wakulla County's project for the bike lane, that we move our construction dollars from fiscal year 15 to 14. I think there was an issue, but we're confident we can get it done, and of course, you and I had talked about this.
Okay. I think what we will do during the work program discussion is discuss that, but I think there's an opportunity for us to move that forward on your behalf.
Okay, we have a motion for 4A. Is there a second? We're having a second. Okay. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Maddox?
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is the right time or place to bring it up, but I would like to look at possibly adding, I don't know if you added to this or somewhere else, but sidewalks for McSickey Road as well as St. Augustine Road here in Tallahassee. Been walking those roads or watching people walk those roads, and it's dangerous for all those involved. So I don't know if this be the area to have that discussion to get it on the agenda, but I'd definitely like to see those added at some place to our TIP. Thank you.
Well, we can certainly take that under consideration. This is just amendments to the current TIP. I think during the discussion for the future work program, that might be something to discuss at that point in time. And
Madam Chair, do you want to wait on that discussion until?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
And also, I failed to acknowledge a new member of our board, Commissioner Lindley. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. Hey, any other questions on
Well, Madam Chair, consistent with what Commissioner Maddox has lifted, I want to know if there is any prohibitive anything that conflicts with sidewalks on the canopy roads. They're so sacred. I'm not even sure if you can throw a piece of bubble on the ground, let alone disturb those areas and put a sidewalk. So if we're going to look at a canopy street, there's no need to look if we're prohibited from anything.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Maddox?
Yeah, I'm sure we have this discussion later on, but I think Centerville was a canopy road. There's some kind of way that there's ruling there that you can put sidewalks on canopy roads, but they have to be placed within a certain 100 feet or something like that. There's a certain way you have to do it, but it can be done. It definitely can be done because it was done on Centerville. So I'm sure we'll bring up the conversation later, but I really would like to see those two roads being looked at as having sidewalks, because it's dangerous to walk up and down them, and people do attempt to walk and bike up and down those roads.
Anything else on 4A? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
This is a roll call vote we have to have.
Okay, roll call.
Yolanda, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Madison?
Yes.
Commissioner Merritt?
Aye.
Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Daly? Commissioner Dozier?
Aye.
Commissioner Maddox?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Yes.
Commissioner Sauls?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindley? Commissioner Miller?
Here, yes.
Commissioner Ziffer? Thank you.
He's not here. That's it? So-
I have roll 4B.
Okay, that passes with a, yes, 4B is the Regional Mobility Plan, administrative amendment to the Regional Mobility Plan. And this is done to be able to make sure that we've got the planning consistency we need to have with Federal Highway Administration. This impacts the design segment from Orange Avenue to Spring Hill.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Discussion,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner
What is
Proctor.
the actual status, and where are we with the Spring Hill Road from Capitol Circle down to Orange Avenue, the gateway from the airport right there at the, are we, is this thing even on radar? Where are we with Spring Hill between Capitol Circle and Orange Avenue?
Yes, sir. That's what we're trying to do is there's the design funds are in this coming year's budget to design that segment from
And
Orange
that's
Avenue
what
to Spring Hill.
This piece is right here.
What's that?
So I'm talking about the north and south, and I'm thinking this is a east and west.
Are you talking about Spring Hill Road itself?
Yes.
No, that's not part of this at this time. I think it's something that's under consideration by Blueprint.
All right. Is it on Blueprint? Anybody knows?
I think it's under consideration for blueprint extension.
All right. How did it miss consideration for, this is the gateway from our airport to our city? And this is not, I mean, there's no other road first that you get to come to the football game when you're leaving the airport. You come from the airport and make a left on Spring Hill Road and go down to the stadium. And there's no more direct path. And I don't see how such an important road for commerce leading to our airport is not on radar. And I think in addition to some sidewalks for the canopy roads, Mickasuck and Centerville, I would like to see, for the interest of commerce and interest to our community, that we include this concern, even if it overlaps, because, you know, it does not placate my concerns that is under Blueprint. Blueprint is a political committee. It's going to make a recommendation for something to go in referendum in front of the voters. But we are actually a transportation board, and it is our primary standing and ongoing function to make sure that transportation arteries are safe, that they're adequate, and they allow for the expansion of those roads which best enhance this community. And unless someone here at this table can share with me a stronger, a more compelling argument, I cannot think of a reason for why the gateway from our airport going down to our stadium is not enhanced. This makes no sense. $15 million practice facility for indoor practice. We ought to have a road that could get our fans into the stands better. I'd like to see it included for these reasons and others. And how can we do that? Do we need a motion or what?
I think I'd be happy to discuss that with you under items from members, because, of course, that's a road that interests my citizens, too.
Okay, well,
I
You
don't
know-
think it's appropriate in this item, though. It's just,
well, we're the board that plans this right here. That's what we're here to do. And I would like to see us include in this consideration that north and south. I don't want to get east and west. East and west, it's just sacred. It's on its own. It's holy grail. But it's been these north and south corridors, Commissioner, that have been messed up forever and slowed down, Commissioner Merritt. And I think that we are not giving adequate consideration to north and south arteries that are flowing from your county to this one, our county down to that one, and Commerce is state. I'm going to hold my comments, but I think that this is a strong, compelling, logical reason, and I can't think of why, and all of y'all know what I'm telling y'all ain't nothing but the truth and the whole truth, that we can't explain having a bike path to an airport that we putting billions of dollars in, and you got to go down a 2-lane road to get there. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to expand our thoughts about the airport, and if we're going to keep it there, invest in it, we ought to put the kind of driveway that can get up there to it. That's what I believe, and you ought to too. And that's why I'd like to see this included in this item and some discussion that we have zero plans for Spring Hill Road to go. I don't get that. And I'm asking you all to walk with me on this. This makes sense. And your silence either says you agree, I take it, or your silence is saying not hardly.
well, my silence is because this item is about administrative amendment to Capital Circle Southwest. I'd be happy to talk about it
Okay.
on discussion items, but again, I don't think it's appropriate on this item.
And Commissioner Proctor, you can bring it back up when we get to the discussion items.
Okay, very well.
You're
Thank you,
not
Madam Chair.
talking about the extension of the Capitol Circle. You're talking about strictly just Spring Hill Road,
Yes,
and you want to bring it back up.
I would like to.
All right, we're on regional mobility plan. Have you finished on that?
If they're ready to vote, it's a roll call vote.
All right, there's a roll call vote. If we can get,
Yolanda, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Boyd? Commissioner Madison?
yes.
Commissioner Merritt?
Aye.
Commissioner Crowley?
Here.
Commissioner Lindley?
Are we on this one? Here.
Commissioner Daly?
Yes.
Commissioner Dozier?
Yes.
Commissioner Maddox?
Yes.
Commissioner Proctor?
Yes.
Commissioner Sauls?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. 100.
Okay, that passes. We'll move on to item number 5.
Item number 5 is the presentation by the Florida DOT regarding the upcoming work program, the tentative work program. I'd like to introduce the District Secretary, Mr. Barfield. He will be opening comments, and then Regina Battles will go through the program.
And just announce to us, if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak, if you will fill out a speaker form.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Barfield.
Okay, thank you. I guess good afternoon is in order. First, let me say thank you so much. We appreciate your interest and your time in transportation. It's certainly a pleasure to come before you and present our tentative work program. And I will introduce Regina Battles in just a moment. But first, a couple things that you've helped us with, and I wanted to certainly acknowledge that, but also ask that you continue to do that. One thing that we're struggling with is advanced production. We're really focusing on trying to produce projects that are going to be eligible for funding and any future funding. And one thing that really assists us is when the CRTPA maintains their priority list. You know, once you set a project and make that project a priority, As we move forward through the project development, the design, right-of-way acquisition, to try and get that project production ready so that it could be eligible for future funding, it's critical. It's critical that we maintain those, and I just want to say thank you again for being very proactive in support of the department and their work program, trying to help us accomplish some of our tasks to come up with some additional production. We've been very fortunate as a district. We've attracted a number of dollars, and certainly some of those are here in the Tallahassee area with the help from Blueprint, but we're really struggling now to try and come up with those future projects that we can produce and have ready for future funding. So I just say thank you for that. And then, again, I want to introduce Regina Battles, staff from District 3, and she'll present the actual details of our tentative program, unless there's questions. Yes, ma'am.
Just one quick question. Thank you very much for your partnership on this as well, and it really helps us obviously move forward as a community, but to have you all here. Just one question on something you said, that you said that it helps if we keep our 5-year work plan static so that you know the projects that are moving through. And I completely understand that. I mean, it takes a lot of lead time there. But one of the questions that I've been discussing with Harry is that there are certain priorities set by, from my perspective, City and County Commission here in Leon County, or perhaps some of the others that may change periodically, and we may want to bump one project up, a sidewalk project up, if it fits with other work that we're doing. Are changes that are made infrequently, is that completely off the table, and that would be a real challenge for us to get funding or get them into the pipeline? Or is it possible every once in a while, from your perspective, to raise a project up should the priorities of the local communities change?
Well, we certainly understand there are some changes that do occur, and what we try to do is hopefully we have a series of projects that are under production, and whether we grab or look at one particular one over another one is not necessarily a problem, especially when it comes to sidewalks and those types of projects. Those are a little simpler. I say that, some of the canopy roads like the commissioner was talking about are difficult, but if you're not having to buy additional right-of-way, if you're not having to do some major design, some of these can be design-build type projects, those are a little easier. And that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the major projects where it takes, if we have all the money in the world, it's going to take 10 years to produce these things. That's what I'm talking about. And so there really should not be an issue. If we have a section of sidewalk or a roadway that needs sidewalk, we certainly want to consider that.
That's very helpful. That's why I wanted to ask the question, because I didn't want to be going down a path in my questions here that impedes our ability to get these projects done in the future. So thank you very much.
And again, we just want to work together. And again, I want to say thank you to Harry and his staff. Great job. Staff has worked really hard. Harry's been over to the district 2 or 3 times to talk to us about the tentative program and where we were going, what directions we were going in as an agency. And it just, to me, it's just reassuring that we're all pulling, we're all working in the same direction. And I just want to say thank you for that. So.
And I think that's one of the things that Secretary Barfield will agree to, is that's critical about programming the projects and not just having it sit out there in a box. If you got it, as he pointed out, if the opportunity comes, we can shift projects as long as they're sort of in the same phase and that type of thing. And so
yeah,
that's
we
what we
certainly
work
are
with
not really interested in stockpiling dollars. I mean, one, it doesn't help the economy, it doesn't create jobs, and certainly as we, as an agency in support of the governor, who we work for, we want to make sure that we are in support with those efforts, and we just can't afford to sit on money. And like I said, we've been very fortunate to make investments on those preliminary phases of those projects, and we've really attracted some real money into the CRTPA area. So we celebrate that, but we're also looking for our next opportunity, and that's what we're really talking about here. So. Okay, Regina.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope all of you have access to copies of the 4 counties' citizens plans for your areas. Just a couple of items to point out that'll hold true for all 4 counties as we go through this. As you're aware, the new federal bill, Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century, was signed back in July. It did combine what you're very familiar with as the Federal Enhancement Program with 3 other programs in the federal arena, and is now called Transportation Alternatives. So as I go through this and I point out these projects that you may be familiar with as enhancement projects, they have been shifted to the new Transportation Alternative federal funding. Also, you will note several resurfacing projects that are being deferred or delayed slightly by just 1 fiscal year. In this instance, this is not a funding shortage for these type projects. It is simply that the pavement that is being put out there today is holding up much better than expected and lasting longer. We're getting more life out of it. And so therefore, we are able to hold up on resurfacing some roads that we thought we were going to have to do earlier. They're actually in good enough condition that they can wait another year for resurfacing. So I'll point those out to you as we go through. With your permission, would it be okay to begin with Gadsden County and just go alphabetically, and I'll try to move as quickly as possible, and certainly if I'm going too fast or you have questions, please stop me and we'll pick those up. Okay. On your handout, the highlighted projects are the projects that we're going to focus on today. This is a complete citizens plan for each county, but the highlighted ones are the ones that are either new, have been advanced, deferred, or in some cases deleted for one reason or another. The dollar amounts in your column, those are in thousands. So if it reads as on the first line for design, 475, that is $475,000. The first new project for Gadsden County is an interstate resurfacing project from US 90 to the Leon County line. Design in 14 and construction in 16, and that does include resurfacing of the ramps. The next highlighted project, Quincy Loop North from State Road 12 to County Road 268, Solomon Dairy Road. This project is one of the few that we don't have mapped because it's not in existence today. It would be a new roadway, and this is for a feasibility study in fiscal year 14. The next project, US 90, from north of Ellis Circle to County Road 270A, is a sidewalk project. This is one of the ones that was under the old enhancement funds that is now a transportation alternatives funded project. We had planned to do this as a local agency program with Gretna managing the project through a LAP agreement, and this one is now going to be managed by the department. The department's taking a more managerial, administrative role for projects that are on our state system, and with this one being on US 90, that is one of the ones that we're going to be managing. Next project also, US 90 from North Avenue to Lanier Drive, same situation, was enhancement, now transportation alternatives, and will be managed by the department. Construction funding is in fiscal year 17. The next one is a resurfacing project from 90 to State Road 63 Main Street, and this is one of the ones I mentioned earlier that is being deferred 1 year from 14 to 15 because the pavement condition is in such good shape it can wait a little longer before it is resurfaced. Similar situation on your next project, State Road 12 from Yon Creek Bridge to west of US 90. It's being deferred for resurfacing from 15 to 16. Same reason. The next project is also not mapped. This is the Town of Havana Landscaping and Scenic Beautification. This project was planned to be done with enhancement funds. Under the new federal bill, it doesn't allow for standalone landscape projects with the new transportation alternatives funding. So it has been converted to state funds, and we will be working to do this project with through a joint project agreement with the Town of Havana. So the project will continue on, but with state funding. The next project, Cairo Street from Line Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, a sidewalk project. This one is being deferred from 16 to 17 for construction.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Madison.
yes. I just have a question. The bridge replacements that you're showing here in Gadsden County.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to, you have here under construction, correct? Is that all of the bridges, or is that just the bridge that is here on State Road 65?
The State Road 65 project is funded, you're referring to the second one there, that's State Road 65 over, is it Ocklawaha
Yes.
Creek? Yes, ma'am, it is funded for construction in fiscal year 14.
Okay, what about the bridges that's like located in Midway, right outside of Midway, the Little River Bridge and all of those?
Little River and Hurricane Creek are in the program, yes, ma'am. I believe those are current year projects, so they won't be reflected. I think they're current year, but they have not gone away.
Excuse me, I think she's referring to the High Bridge Road.
High Bridge Road.
Right off of 268 that goes in the,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
bridge
that one.
is failing there, as it is in several other places. But,
That's a project we need to get with you all about, because one of the things I think needs to be done is we need to have someone come out and inspect it. For some reason, the bridge is shifting, and there's some issues with it, so, but it's something we were going to try to follow up on this coming year.
Okay, I have a note.
and while you're making that note, make a note that on Salem Road, the bridge over Attapogus Creek, coming out of Attapogus, Georgia, that end, the west end of that bridge is dropped down as well. But it's the same situation on all these late 1940 bridges.
Point of information, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Proctor.
Is there, staff, are there any circumstances which expedite a project, such as when the bridge has fallen several inches off, it's shifted? Is there any condition by which they can get a little fast forward?
Oh, yes. For off-system bridges, those are inspected, and they're looked at on a statewide, not a district basis as far as funding. So they go in the order statewide of their rating based on their condition on inspection. Certainly, if something is happening dramatically to the bridge to make it suddenly significantly worse, that would have to be addressed and, do something sooner rather than later.
That did happen to us, by the way. We had a bridge that was in imminent failure, and we got pushed up on the list to get it done, and it's done.
Right, well, I would just recommend, because our table here, we concerned with the safety of regional aspects of travel. And I've heard two commissioners from those counties who've said that there's been some shifting and some lowering of the bridge. And I, for one, would not want to be the victim of failure. So I would ask if, Mr. Reed, if we could get a review, because two commissioners have said that something mechanically have shifted with these bridges. And I think it's an imminent concern that when something like that has happened, that for our region's sake, we all lend our interest and support, and I do.
If I could chime in on that, just because I happen to know, I used to run the public works for the county. All the bridges that are in the system, if you want, are inspected by DOT every year or two, I don't know how often it is. And each one of those bridges will have a condition report every year. And most of the older bridges are called functionally obsolete. In other words, you couldn't build them today and they would work fine. There may be timber pilings, whatever. But if there's a imminent failure, that bridge report will tell you what it is. We've got a lot of bridges that the decks have shifted a little bit, the joints are gone, but they're not in any danger of immediate failure. And like I said, we had one that had a piling actually washed out, and it was in imminent failure, and they came in and moved the funding up on it. So I got a whole list of bridges I could add to all these lists that need repairing, but they are inspected yearly by DOT to be sure they're safe.
Madam Chair, just to piggyback off of what is being said, and to Mr. Reed, one of my concerns about this, and the reason I brought it up, is because that road, 268, is well-traveled. And I just hate to see an incident like what happened in Minnesota happen there. And I know that you were saying that they are inspected yearly, but whenever I travel on that road and on that bridge, I'm somewhat leery, and if there's any way that we can meet sooner than later to try to see what can be done, especially on the one that I'm concerned about, and there's one on 268 going in the back way to Quincy. That road is well-traveled, and the people that ride on that road, they're not tarrying, they drive really, really fast on that road, and everything is shifting, and you can tell when you're on that bridge.
Well, and I think with what's the discussion's been held today, Ms. Battles is well aware of that and will follow up.
Now, I will follow up with them about it, but again, what I want to report, though, is they are inspected every year, and there's a deficiency rating that's indicated on it, and if the bridge is deficient, it will be replaced, as Commissioner Merritt said. But, and it also identified the needs for repairs if there's those type of things, but they'll close it if it's dangerous.
And unfortunately, this is another thing, I don't want to drag this out too far, but the repairs are supposed to be done by the county. They're identified by DOT, but they're supposed to be paid for by the county. And unfortunately, the way it's set up, if we don't do those repairs, the bridge gets in worse and worse and worse condition, and we get bumped up on the list because it's, about to fail. So it's kind of a catch-22 that DOT will tell you what you need to fix to keep your bridge safe, but it's really up to you to do it.
Madam Chair, not to belabor this, but Mr. Commissioner Merritt, you're right. We do understand everything you just said because I've seen the bridge deficiency reports, just like you referred to. And Mr. Barfield and I have talked about these, along with Mr. Reed. He's been over and looked at them. You are faced, so in all these rural counties, yours, Gadsden, Jefferson, most of the rest of them, there is a limited amount of funds available in the county transportation budgets with declining fuel taxes to address these bridges.
I agree.
And if we do out there and we do any work on them, as you said, then they're stretched out. The bridges that Commissioner Madison's talking about, as referenced by Commissioner Proctor, all carry a lot more commercial freight traffic. And this is something that we are trying to raise an issue about, is moving freight for the economic development and incentives of keeping these people working. Those bridges that I referenced to the north, those are the same bridges that bring you the fuel transportation trucks into the city of Tallahassee. Your fuel comes from the Bainbridge Pipe Terminal up there in Bainbridge, Georgia. When you see the gasoline transport trucks unloading at the convenience stores, that's where it's coming from. Those bridges need to be made safer. And don't forget, if they do have an accident and the transport truck falls into the creek, Commissioner Sauls, it's coming right down to your lake. Now,
I believe you live on that lake, too.
no ma'am, I don't live on the lake. I live on the river above it, so then maybe they'll wreck before they get there, but that's a possibility. But I am trying to make the point again, because it's been my theme since I've been here, emphasizing bridge safety.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in this new transportation bill, there's something in there, Ms. Battles, that has some monies for freight movement that will help us all. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on.
Madam Chair, I just think that what we're hearing, there's consensus, Ms. Battle, that we need to battle for this. I mean, we need to put up a major battle. And to make this a priority for our infrastructure, in particular calling attention to specifically 268, that right there is, because if that bridge fails, and we're talking about the cost of gas going up, if they got to travel an extra mile, we pay a dime more. And we need not give them justification to go up on gas prices.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Okay, continuing on with your next project listed, Lewis Lane from County Road 379 Mount Pleasant to County Road 379A Glory Road. This is a small county outreach program project that was submitted by Gadsden County, and we were able to advance this project from fiscal year 15 to the first year of the program, fiscal year 14. So that's being advanced 1 year. The next project, McDonald Avenue from Main Street to Maple Street, sidewalk project. This one's being deferred from 16 to 17. This is a transportation alternatives funded project. On the next page, a resurfacing project on Peck Becks Road. This is a new small county outreach program project for the county, and it's paving a dirt road. The next one is a new county incentive grant program project as submitted by the county for Taloja Creek from State Road 12 to County Road 65A for resurfacing.
Just real quick, the scrap money is actually used to pave a dirt road in this case?
This was not SCRAP, this was Small County Outreach Program, SCOP. SCOP and County Incentive Grant Program both do allow for paving dirt roads. The Small County Road Assistance Program that we call SCRAP does not allow for paving dirt roads.
SCOP is a 75% match?
Yes, yes it is. SCRAP is 100% funded by the state. Small County Outreach is 75%, and County Incentive Grant Program is a 50%. Okay, the next project's down at the bottom of the page. I added in the deletions and the move-outs. As discussed, the Town of Havana Landscaping and Scenic Beautification, that's just designating that it's now being managed by the department, that project for landscaping. And then the Gadsden County Bike Ped Network Development, those funds were moved to the Florida Arts Trail multi-use path along State Road 12 from Havana to Quincy in current year, fiscal year 13. Any questions, further questions or comments on Gadsden County? Would you like to move on with Jefferson? Okay, Jefferson County. The first new project there on your list is a interstate resurfacing project from US 19 to the Madison County line. As you see, design, preliminary engineering funded in the first year of the program, with construction of a little over $17 million estimated in fiscal year 16. Immediately below it, another interstate resurfacing from Leon County line to County Road 158, Old Lloyd Road, design in 14, construction of a little over $8 million in fiscal year 16. Then there's two projects, one project there for both design and construction for the rest area building replacement. That's for both the eastbound and westbound rest areas for replacement of those buildings, and that's for construction of a little over $5 million in fiscal year 15.
For some rest buildings,
The rest area buildings, yes, sir.
$5 million and the land is already owned?
That is just for construction. There's no right-of-way involved with that. That's building new buildings.
I mean, what's the square footage? I'm just saying, the land is owned, we already got the right-of-way, we're replacing a building and construct for $5 million for a little rest facility. It seems excessive. I mean, I know this is the governor's money, it's not mine. So, you know, but the little building is not over 1,600 square feet on either side. I don't get it, but, you know, 1,600 square foot building for $5 million.
It's a good point.
And the dirt is
$5 million
on.
is a lot of money for a bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, wash your hands. You
Equivalent, but
don't even get a living room with this thing. Just go to the bathroom and wash your hands. This is way, okay, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay. The next project, US 90 from Holly Road to Willis Street. This is a sidewalk project that was enhancement funded and is now going to be funded through transportation alternatives. There was discussion about the department taking over management of this project since it is on US 90. However, we're so close to the construction starting next fiscal year for this one that this one will now move forward under a local agency program agreement. The next project, US 19 at Industrial Park Road intersection. This is a strategic intermodal system corridor initiative project for the construction of a southbound right turn lane into the industrial park. That is funded through the strategic intermodal system statewide funds. The next project, resurfacing State Road 59 from Tram Road to US 27. That's a new resurfacing project, design in 14, construction in 16. A bridge replacement project at the bottom of your page, County Road 158, Old Lloyd Road over a branch of Lloyd Creek, design in 14, right-of-way in 16, and construction in the last year of the program in 18. The next bridge replacement project, County Road 158 over Lloyd Creek, also design in the first year of the program, right-of-way in 16, and construction in 18. A new small county road assistance program or SCRAP project, Piney Woods Road, was submitted by the county from Raven Road to Old Lloyd Road for resurfacing. The next one, St. Augustine Road, is a new small county outreach program, or SCOP project as we call it, for resurfacing. And then Tecumseh Road from Lake Road to US 19 is a new county incentive grant program project north of Monticello, also for resurfacing. The projects listed under the deletions or move-outs, I've discussed the Holly Road to Willis Street, that it will still continue as a local agency program project. The second one, Old Lloyd Road from the Leon County line to State Road 59, is a county incentive grant program project that we were actually able to advance to current year. So that's why the funding is no longer in 15. The legislature this year designated additional funding to the small county outreach program, and that allowed us to advance some projects in the district. That's all for Jefferson County.
I got just a general question, it may be just semantics, but when we're figuring out how much each county gets allocated from DOT, it seems to me like we really should exclude the money that's allocated for the interstate. Every other dollar amount for any other road and gas and whatever goes to serve the citizens of the county, but money that's spent on the interstate really, I mean, Jefferson County may benefit, obviously benefits from the.
Beyond all of them.
Yeah, obviously they benefit from it, but 99% or 98% of that benefits the people traveling through. And my only reason I say that is we can look and say, look, Jefferson County got $20 million, but 15 of that was spent on the interstate, and they're really not getting their fair share of money on their roads. Anyway, that's a ridiculous point, but I just
Are
thought
you
I'd make it.
asking for another
No, I'm
call?
not asking for anything, I just wanted to point it out.
I think that's something I'm going to try to do in the next year, is bring forward to you the work program and break it down on what's really sort of discretionary money. I've done it in the past, and I can tell you from looking at last year's program that the difference between Leon County and Wakulla County is only a few $1 million. Because when you take out what you're talking about, resurfacing for the interstates, because that's not going to happen in Wakulla County, the transit money, the airport money, and a number of other programs of which there's not any eligibility when it comes down to it.
I didn't
It's
figure
not-
my statement would work to my advantage, but I just thought it would be fair,
But
like.
I think that's something we'll try to do too, is explain too where the funding comes from. There is some money that comes back, but that's part of what we'll attempt to do in the next year.
I mean, do our recommendations carry any kind of weight, or we just receive what DOT is telling us they're going to do? I just think that the Taj Mahal of bathrooms is just exorbitant for $5 million. But what is our voice?
I think we need to
worth
look
here?
into that. Usually when they're talking about that type of thing, it's a complete redo of the rest area, which means it includes the roads, all the surrounding things, the parking facilities, and the buildings. So that's what that's in part, but I will find out for you.
That
But the other
statement,
part of it is
Harry, if a comprehensive statement had been shown and shared with us in that manner, then, new trash cans and all of it, but that's not what we had. And I'm just going by what the sheet of paper told
More
us.
detail.
We deserve detail. I mean, this is going to be,
Harry will look into that.
fraction to match Disney World.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Being brief, our comments about the allocation of the money, whether we include interstate projects or not, I really don't think should be the focus of CRTPA. I think CRTPA needs to be focused on where the needs are. If we have needs here in Leon County, or City of Tallahassee, they're just as important as what they are in Gadsden or Jefferson or Wakulla, or sometimes greater, depending on population, and which is why the votes are the way they are. And all I'm trying to say is, I think we always ought to be focused on where our needs are, legitimate needs, wherever they may be, and that we make our decisions accordingly. I don't worry too much about, well, did this county get more money or this city get more money than that? That's not really going to accomplish much, because we're never going to get a balance on that. We just need to be focused on what the people need in our 4 counties, wherever that may be.
Maybe I came off wrong on that. That certainly wasn't my intention. It was, if somebody's going back to their constituency and saying, we got X amount of dollars from the state, if most of it was on the interstate corridor. That's all I was saying. Not saying anything about the distribution.
Okay, I have Commissioner Boyd, then Commissioner Maddox.
Yeah, I appreciate what Commissioner Merritt said, but main comment I want to make, and this is to Commissioner Proctor. I agree 100% with what you said. Those bathrooms are in Jefferson County, but $5 million to improve a bathroom, even if it does involve the surrounding area, is something that I'm sorry, I can't help but be concerned. And, you question, I don't know what the details of the project are, but it would seem to me that a much more prudent use of public resources would be to do exactly what Commissioner Proctor is saying and look at that project. And if those funds are available for use in other places, then let's allocate them there. I don't know if that's within our purview. They're probably federal dollars, but they're still dollars, and they're coming here. And, I think as a group, we ought to look at the efficiency with which those dollars are used. And so I just want to say I fully support the principle that Ms. Proctor's getting at.
And Harry will bring us back a report on that, too. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you. Not that you owe us anything, but I think the process that you have to go through is you set an amount that's budgeted for it, and then it goes through a bidding process. My question was, and I asked Harry, I don't know what his response was, but is $5 million excessive? What is the average? I mean, what does it usually look like? Because, none of us have to worry about building rest areas. So I don't really know how much a rest area actually costs, or refurbishing or anything like that. So my question would be more in line with, is that excessive? Can you give me an average? And then is my idea of what the process actually is that you have to go through, is that correct? How much less than $5 million do you expect the bid to come in under? Just a lot of questions popped into my head when I heard the number.
And if you will, let me address some of that. Certainly, when we go through an identified project in the work program, we do base that on comparable projects with comparable bids. We have to go in and almost guess sometimes of what the cost of these projects are going to be. What we try to do is certainly identify what what improvements need to be made. We go through an extensive process to develop a set of plans where we identify exactly which building, if the parking lot needs to be expanded, if we look at changing from an asphalt parking lot to a concrete parking lot because of the damage that occurs because of the amount of traffic, the truck traffic and other things that come into these facilities. And then there's some ADA requirements that we are mandated that we have to meet. Once we identify that, we put together a set of plans, and then we do another estimate based on the quantities associated with those plans, and then we do bid the project out. And then we evaluate those bids, and if they're based on comparable bids, if they're sufficient to, if they make sense to spend those dollars for those improvements, then we award the project and we move forward. So for me to sit here today and to defend the $5 million is very difficult, because for sure I don't know exactly into that detail exactly what the size of the building is, or if we're expanding the parking lots. But I'll tell you, if you drive out there on the weekends and you drive by these rest areas, they're slammed full of people, they're slammed full of cars, they're slammed full of trucks. So we're trying to improve these facilities so that they do meet what the needs are. So it is an absolute challenge, but I will assure you that we're going to use those dollars as wisely as we possibly can, and we will go through a bidding process to make sure that we're spending the dollars that we need to.
Madam Chair, I do have a follow-up. I appreciate you addressing that concern for the board here. My follow-up is, and I'm sure you weren't prepared to answer these types of questions, but you've done this before. What is the average cost? If you could give one. Once you go through the full process and it's actually rated, given the bid.
This is actually the first rest area that we've reconstructed in a number of years.
Okay.
Let me say that. Now, we built 2 new rest areas in the Okaloosa and Walton County areas, but those were brand new facilities. We bought the property, and actually we did those under some design build projects, but those were built probably 10 years ago or so. So we haven't done a lot in the 3rd District. We are doing other improvements across the state, and we do base these estimates on what those were. I do remember when we built the Welcome Center on US 231 in Jackson County. That was a brand-new facility, and that facility cost about $5 million to build that. Now, it's a fine facility. It certainly meets all the needs and the requirements, but it is an issue. And we can go back and I can give you some history, recent history, if that's what you would like.
That include land as well?
That did include the land.
That include land and construction was $5 million?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Let me get with Tom and his staff and find out about it, but there's a lot of other factors that have been brought into it. One of them is, this could be, they're replacing it on both sides of the road. The other part of it is, we don't know about what the sewer and water and power part of this thing is. A lot of these places have package plants. Now they're converting to sewer, so they got to run the sewer line out there or replace the package plant. So there's a lot of other aspects of this type of thing. So before we start, figuring out what, that it's the Taj Mahal, let's find out what it is included, and then I think we can comment on those things.
And I think it does include both rest areas in both directions. And Harry, you're absolutely right. And when you start breaking it down into the cost per item or whatever, we certainly want to be in a position where we can defend where we spend in our limited resources. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to program a project where there's not enough money to go out there, because the only opportunity we have, the only option we have is either to pull the money off something else to fund this or not do the project. So we have to be real careful when we go in and program these dollars.
I have Commissioner Lindley and then Commissioner Dozier.
Well, it's my time to ask the stupid questions, but one is, how much authority do we have to change this in any case, since it's a state project, I guess? But also, where do these, you said the bridges are inspected annually. Who decides when a rest area has to be completely redone? Is that a turkey from the legislature or what?
No, it's certainly based on need. A lot of we go out and we actually do inspections on our facilities, including the rest areas. And as these rest areas age, and they don't age very well, to be honest with you, we also, we have to evaluate whether there's a need for the rest area. We are considering closing some of the rest areas across the state. But right now, we're not looking at closing anything within the 3rd District, but we do evaluate that, and it's based on needs. If these were rest areas that were not being utilized, then we probably wouldn't be making these improvements. We certainly wouldn't be making these investments, but we do evaluate that, and it's all about the condition. And if you think about when those rest areas were built, when they were last renovated, it's been a number of years. So we certainly are trying to use those dollars as investments. But we want to present this to you. We want you to know what's in your area, and we do want input from you. And this is excellent conversation, comments back and forth to make sure that we are utilizing those resources as wise as we can. And yeah, like I said earlier, it is certainly subject to direction from our governor. But the way we look at this, these are dollars that are provided by the citizens and the taxpayers within this region. So we want to be able to, defend where we're spending those limited resources.
Okay, Commissioner Dozier, do you have anything?
I will make it very quick. Secretary Barfield, thank you very much. You actually covered a lot of the things that I was in much better than I could have done it. You all know I can go down rabbit holes with the best of them, but this is one that just personally I think that, as you said, you want to cover the cost. I bet all of us take numerous road trips every year. Rest stops are vital to the state's transportation. And I just wanted to come back and say, I appreciated your comments, and I respect that y'all will look for the best and most cost-effective way to do the replacement if necessary. And I can leave it there, but I think we need to wait on a lot more information here, because as both Secretary and Harry have said, there's a lot of unknowns here. These things are out in the middle of nowhere, and all the utilities and everything. We need to wait on this.
Any more discussion? Okay.
The only thing, wasn't this the rest area where we had the shooting that a few years ago, and we had the lighting issues and all the other things? So federal highway folks over there are nodding their head in agreement. There's a lot more to these projects than what our first impressions.
Why don't we move on from the Taj Mahal to the next one?
Can we
Taj
not
Mahal.
call it Taj Mahal?
This is just an afterthought on that.
Taken.
That rest area that we're talking about, I'm pretty sure this is the right one, it's kind of an infamous rest area. If nobody at this table remembers it, Commissioner Lindsley will
I do.
remember, because it's where the British tourist killing occurred. So, and when was it? You remember, sometime in the 80s, late 80s?
Late
wasn't it?
80s, probably.
Yeah.
The English murder, English tourist murder.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Leon County. The first project, a new resurfacing project on the interstate from the Gadsden County line to the beginning of the 6th laning, design in 14, construction in fiscal year 16. The very next project is another rest area project, this time for renovations. And this is both the eastbound and westbound rest areas, is construction of 4 family restrooms, a security and information office, putting a roof over the central courtyard area, and making upgrades to meet the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that design is in 14 and construction in 15. And these are also, like the previous project, out of state funding that's set aside for rest area upkeep and upgrades.
How much is that?
$3 million.
$3 million. The next project, the CRTPA bicycle pedestrian projects listed as a funding action. This, as requested, is the $1 million off the top, so to speak, before the priorities, adding that additional $1 million of programming into fiscal year 18. And
Where you at? I'm sorry.
Right here.
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of the first page of Leon County, where it says CRTPA bicycle pedestrian projects.
One comment on that is that in the coming months, we'll allocate those funds for projects, so you'll have the allocations laid out for the individual counties as well as the region.
Right.
So these aren't necessarily going to Leon County?
No, this is where they just package it. This is the regional money that you've got. The reason you see $935,000 for 15 is we advanced $65,000, which was Gadsden County's share of the bike ped funds for the Florida Arts Trail, so that can be moved up. So their allocation for 2015 has already been made.
So we could get our hands on some of this too then?
Yes, sir. You'll be getting your allocation of that as well, and then the other part goes to the regional system.
Yeah, all of this money will be moved to specific projects.
So this $1 million is not for the 1 mile length that states here?
No, sir. Where it lists type of work as funding action, as Mr. Reed said, this is merely the holding point as it's broken out into projects. When you're looking 3-4 years out in advance, usually there's an opportunity to get a little bit closer to the funding and then break it out into projects based on the needs at that time.
And that gets us back to what Commissioner Dozier was talking about being able to move things, is making sure this is what you want to do before you jump into it, rather than putting it 5 years out and then having to change it around.
Okay, so this is $1 million from 15, 16, 17, and 18 consecutively, million.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That was the board's policy. It was set when I first got here, and so I've worked with DOT to make sure that a minimum of $1 million is put aside for bike and pedestrian. There may be more funds available in that 5th year. We're still looking at that.
The next project, US 90 from Apex Drive to east of County Road 59. This resurfacing project is being deferred 1 year from 15 to 16. Once again, pavement condition is allowing that to wait a little longer before resurfacing. Same situation below that with US 27 from State Road 61 to east of State Road 261. It's being deferred from fiscal year 15 to 16 also. At the top of the next page, US 319 from north of Park Avenue to Centerville Road. This is a resurfacing project, and we're adding a right-of-way to this. And this was to include a northbound right turn lane, a capital circle at Mahan. This was originally a standalone project, and now that work has been moved into this resurfacing project. So that right-of-way will allow for the construction of that right turn lane. The next project, Capitol Circle from south of the old airport entrance to Orange Avenue, resurfacing deferred from 15 to 16. Then Capitol Circle from west of State Road 61 to north of Spring Hill, also deferred from 15 to 16. The next project, Magnolia Drive at Governor Square Boulevard intersection. This is a new project. It was the board's number 3 traffic operations priority. It's for a second southbound left turn lane to be constructed at that location. Design in 14, right-of-way in 16, and construction in 17. The next highlighted project, State Road 373 Orange Avenue, down at the bottom of your sheet, bridge replacement over St. Mark's Trail. This is for the design, right-of-way, and construction of that bridge replacement. One note here is that the possibility is being explored of making this an at-grade crossing. If that were to come to fruition, then of course the bridge replacement project would not be needed and we would adjust accordingly, but that remains to be seen.
I just wanted to point out that we had a discussion with the engineer regarding this possibility. I don't think this is going to be a recommendation that will be supported by this board. From the standpoint is that road is intended to be a 4-lane road, and the trail is heavily traveled, and that's going to create a lot of conflict. So it would be better that that bridge be replaced and not put people in harm's way trying to cross a 4-lane road on a major trail.
That's the old railroad track.
I just might have Commissioner Dozier, then Commissioner Crowley.
That's over by the old Sears.
Regina, this may be really preliminary, but just piggybacking on what Harry said, it seems like since we, if I'm thinking about that road correctly, right in front of NIMS Middle School, leading down over the
Yes.
trail, is that correct?
Yes,
The
I
old
believe that's-
Sears, I think, the old Sears repair place.
Yes, exactly. It seems like, well, I mean, I guess I just tossed this out. I think you're right, Harry. There are many of us who would be concerned if we brought that road down with how heavily it is used and made the trail stop there, move across it. But I guess my question is, it seems like it would be a lot of earth moving, a lot of construction to try to take it down to grade, and would it be cost-effective to do that versus a bridge replacement? I mean, what would be the argument for making it on grade, just not having a bridge in the future?
Well, like I said, this is just a brand-new project that's been put in, so none of that analysis has been done yet. I was just mentioning that that was one of the things that might be a possibility. It may not pan out to be worthwhile to pursue.
So I guess I'm curious why it's a possibility. I mean, there must have been a reason why someone recommended that we take it down.
I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar with that location as some other people here.
I'm just curious what the reasoning might be so that we can think about that before anything might come back to us.
I guess I assume they
Primarily
were just
bridge,
looking at all
it's
options.
primarily bridge maintenance is what it amounts to from that standpoint, and having to take care of it from that. So that's primarily what they were looking at.
Well, I guess I would just say, as you said, Harry, I mean, I think there would be some concerns here about that traffic, and if that type of option moves forward at all, just bring it back to us as quickly as possible, even if it's a preliminary discussion, because I think most of us are going to want to learn more about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Crowley.
Thank you, Commissioner Salsa. Before we move too far off the Capitol Circle here, and I wanted to back up a minute and ask this question. Commissioner Salsa, I know last year you talked about the need for lighting at the intersection of Capitol Circle and Highway 20. I use that corridor, obviously, to get to the airport, and it's a very dark intersection there early in the mornings. And has that been addressed in any of these work plans for safety?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It will be as part of the construction that just started.
Okay, so that will be a part of the construction.
Yeah, going to go through that intersection, and the lighting and everything will be addressed at that time as part of the
Okay,
construction.
thank you. I just knew Commissioner Salsa had raised that issue last year.
Commissioner Miller.
On this, can I ask you a question about this project, the one that we
Commissioner, you need to...
discussed, the bridge replacement over the trail? The bridge replacement over the trail that we were talking about just a minute ago? How does a project like that get on the list?
because of the condition of the bridge, that it becomes of a certain age or it has issues and it needs to be added to the program for replacement.
So does that come to the local jurisdictions on the list, and that's basically the first?
It's not looked at in the same, you have an off-system bridge and on-system bridges. This particular one is an on-system on State Road 373 Orange Avenue. So if you're asking if the two are in competition with each other for funding, then no, it's considered separately.
No, I was just interested in the process and how we interact with you, basically.
Priorities are not generated for bridge replacement projects per se, because it is all based, as Mr. Reed mentioned earlier, off the inspections and the ratings of the bridges.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Proctor?
However, I do want to point out that as part of the process of going through the PD&E, the PD&E and the design process, we have local input into this, and so it's all part of a public meetings.
Okay, Madam Chair, I wanted to ask in terms of the pedestrian part of the bridge that complements the bridge, the roadway with the cars. There's a little rickety, little walkover part. Can that be looked at? I mean, like immediately, little children, every day, adults, pedestrian traffic. It's rickety. It's a little fence that separates people falling. Is this foreign, Ms. Battle?
I'm making a note of it. I'll certainly go back and ask. I'm not familiar with that site.
And I think that the immediacy of that need is today, and children using it every single day and walking. In terms of a sidewalk, this is also an area of need for a sidewalk, that once you pass the intersection going west on Orange Avenue, passing over the intersection of Orange and Spring Hill Road, the need for sidewalk in there is just so critical. And as Commissioner Maddox has pointed out, the sidewalk need, and even though there is no sidewalk there, it does not stop or inhibit people from walking. And that's the amazing thing, that they're walking without sidewalk.
Well, their sidewalks are being placed as part of the resurfacing project, which will get underway this year. As a matter of fact, I think they're at 60% plans. So they're resurfacing the road from Spring Hill Road, or past Spring Hill Road, west of Spring Hill Road, all the way to Monroe Street. And a continuous sidewalk is being placed. It runs in front of Mims School all the way out to Spring Hill Road.
Which that little bridge part, which would be...
Yes, I discussed that. I discussed that with the engineers, and they're supposed to be addressing that as well.
Okay, super. And the other point Commissioner Crowley highlighted, I'm not as familiar with the intersection that you lifted up for Highway 20, but leaving the airport last night, I'm not a city commissioner, but it's entirely too dark at our airport. And from Spring Hill Road all the way back around to Orange Avenue, it's like it's just third world darkness, even with the moon being full last night. It's incredibly dark, poorly lighted, signage is just not even existent. And I asked my 77-year-old daddy to pick me up from the airport last night, and the first thing he said, man, I couldn't even see, I couldn't even tell where to go. And looking through his eyes, I'm familiar with going there, but just looking through 77-year-old man's eyes, it's completely dark. I encourage all of you to go out tonight and ride out to the airport and see how poorly lit the area leading into our airport is. And I hope that we could address that. It's sad.
That was one of the things that with this request for the for the light there at 20 and Capitol Circle, is we were used to all four corners had business on that were lit up all the time, and then all that closed, and it's very dark over there.
Well, maybe we need a parkway a package that treats that as a parkway all the way around from there back over to the airport. But the signage leading to and at the airport, there are 0 lights. I'm prepared to lay my paycheck on the line, that if anybody find a light out there tonight, I'm going to give you my paycheck. You go out there and find me a light hanging by the airport, I'll pay you my paycheck.
Ms. Madison?
Yes. Commissioner Proctor, I do agree with you. It is very dark there, and I think that we all can recall that on that stretch of the road, Spring Hill Road, going into Capitol Circle, I think we've had a couple of children that may have been hit by, a driver because they were crossing the street to get to the school bus. But the drivers of the vehicles, they didn't see those children. And I think that, I don't know if you remember this, Harry, but it has been, I know at least 2 that I can recall, students that have been killed on that road because it was so dark, and that they were not seen. They were just trying to cross the street to get to the school bus.
Is that a city issue, or is that our,
Well, it's a
this
Spring Hill
table's-
Road issue.
But I'm just addressing the issue about, how important the lighting is needed on that particular road.
What intersection was this again?
That was on Spring Hill Road.
Okay, well, one of the things that we're in the process of just kicking off a study looking at safe routes to schools, and this is going to be addressed as part of that study to find out what those needs are, and one of the things that will be is looking at bus stops, not so much the locations of the bus stop, but the condition of the bus stop. Does it have adequate lighting? Is there shelter? And, how close are they to the road? These types of things. So we're doing that as part of that study.
Okay, thank you.
Not to belabor anything, but since Commissioner Miller, looks like you got the weight of the city on you this afternoon as the only commissioner here.
Well, I have to ask,
And
whose road is this? Spring Hill.
I think,
All right, if it's a county road, then it's back at you.
I don't think Capitol Circle.
No, we're talking about Spring Hill Road.
Yeah, well, I'm not really referring to
It's a-
Spring Hill Road, but from Spring Hill Road on around,
Welcome to the ownership table.
I would encourage you to speak with the airport director and all, because early morning flights out of there, it is dark. And I didn't know I needed glasses till the lampshade caught fire. But the point I'm trying to make is the older I get, like Commissioner Proctor saying, the harder it is to see. And the airport entrance is difficult in the mornings. And it's a whole point that started with Commissioner Sauls last year bringing this up. And I'm going to, again, emphasize the point that we need some attention out there. And thank you very much.
All right, let's try to get on through this report.
Okay, the next project on the list is on the second project on the next page, US 27 from Lakeshore Drive to John Knox Road on Monroe Street. And this is a project that the county will be constructing for turn lane and signage. And that represents local funds, the $1,360,000 for construction for that project in 14. The US 27 Monroe Lake Ella pedestrian improvements, project in fiscal year 15, and this will be managed by the department for construction for those pedestrian improvements.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
Regina, just since I know you're going to get to the deletions and move-outs in a moment, but when I looked at this earlier, I was just curious, the pedestrian improvements for Monroe at Lake Ella, is that connected to this project, Monroe Lake Ella pedestrian improvements? Are they 2 different ones? We've got one listed as project.
No, ma'am, it's the same project. It's just indicating the management shifting from the locals to the department.
Thank you. Okay, just curious about that. Thanks.
Where y'all at?
We're at, let's see, the next project is the middle of the page, Trails and Greenways Connection Development, Leon County. We're all on the same spot. Bike Path Trail. On this one, we were able to advance partial right-of-way funding to fiscal year 14. So that's just representing the advancement of part of the right-of-way funding a year earlier than planned. Funding is split over 14, 15, and 16.
May I ask a question, Madam Chairman?
Certainly.
Is Wilani involved in this in any way? Is it tied together with this?
On what? Which one?
The Wilani bike path, and Greenway projects and all that stuff?
No, this is not part of that. This particular project on Sixth Avenue is one that the consultant will be discussing here in the next
All right.
next item, or item after next.
I'm just wondering here, because it has construction earmarked, and this is,
No, I don't think so.
I don't see Vince, anyone who can answer this question, but I know the county, in terms of Greenway dollars, and it does not designate if any of this money is going to help us with our Greenway commitments there out at Wilani. And if it's eligible, this pot of money is eligible for such, then I think that this is a source to earmark and overlap and interact with, so we can optimize success of that project. So just a footnote, Harry, I think it's something worth looking at the county's direction for Greenway with Wilani. And I don't have the specifics in my mind, but I do know we've kicked that can down the road a few times.
Well, that's part of the Trails Network that we have for the region, and included in that, and there's funding, some of the funding that you all may get for bike and pedestrian funds can be used as that. The county's going to get at least $375,000 a year.
This is separate from that $1 million a year set aside, correct?
Yes.
These were funds that were allocated in the last 2 years for these projects that came out of that pot of money.
Just to be sure, this is state money, this isn't blueprint money or something
No,
like that?
these are state funds. These are our allocation.
So 2016, Leon County has allocated $855,000 for not really any specific trail, just trails and greenways in general?
Which one are you referring to now?
The middle of the page?
Yeah, just say fiscal year 2016, $855,000. Last page, Harry.
Specifically, what's it for?
trails
What you're asking?
Yes.
You're talking about the nine? What?
Earmark.
Right here.
Oh, the 850,000?
Is that just in general for them to develop their trails?
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing which one you're talking about.
Right here, Harry. Page right here.
The last one above deletions.
On Leon County.
No, that's the regional trail money. That's the money, because the $1 million is split, as you agreed to do, between the local governments, and the other half of the money is put to the regional trail system.
Okay, so this is separate from, let me just wrap my head around this,
Yeah.
okay? In 2014, they get $496,000 to develop their greenways and trails.
They be in Leon County.
They be in Leon County.
And that's separate from the $1 million.
And then they get a cut of the $1 million also for the region.
No,
It's regional also.
Okay, I gotta get to the right page.
So you know what specifically this is for,
I
this
mean,
Leon County
if it's for
stuff?
general, if it's for whatever y'all want to spend it for, that's fine.
Right. This is the funds that is dedicated. Now, they put it in Leon County because it's region-wide.
Okay, so this is.
So
what the-
these are funds that are set aside for the regional trail system.
Not
so-
necessarily just for Leon County.
No, it's,
That's all right.
part of this, what we anticipate these funds will go towards will be towards the capital city to the sea,
Okay,
which is a regional trail.
answer my question.
Right.
Okay, Commissioner Sauza, if I might close out my comment, because Commissioner Merritt just done took over here, and he didn't have to go there where he went, I understand. But what I was saying was that with our conversation with Blueprint money, and the conversation with Blueprint to deal with greenways and all, I am saying, can we merge a conversation, maybe with Mr. Tedder, maybe with Harry, to make sure that we are optimizing the use and the application of money to specific projects? And this does not speak to that, but I want to make sure that we tie down these different pots.
Absolutely,
what
that's the
I'm trying to say.
intention. We're gonna be doing and launching our next regional mobility plan update.
Mhm.
And that's all part of what we're doing. So one of the things I've been talking to is the committee, the sales tax committee, about making sure that all the projects that end up on the blueprint or the sales tax are projects that show up in our regional plan, so that we have that opportunity to leverage the funds, just as you're saying.
Okay, great.
And,
Sorry, Commissioner.
sorry.
Sorry, I'll try to get quicker, Gina, I know we're holding you up here. So just to go back one quick time to the Lake Ella pedestrian improvements, I meant to have asked this earlier, but when, and I think I understand some of the reasons why you all, the state, is taking over management from the locals, but we are still involved in the design, the
Yes.
different steps in the process will still come before this board,
You'll
correct?
still have be involved, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And the Star Metro funding, we jumped over that because nothing had changed in that funding structure. But I just wanted to use this opportunity to say that, and I don't know if, Ron, you had a comment on this. We've talked at times about the need for additional bus stops in the unincorporated area that is just outside of the city limits. And I have been told that, it's probably county funding dollars, things like that. I'm thinking about public facilities. But if we're drawing down state dollars to help with some of these bus routes, and I may be reading this incorrectly, I think access to public buildings should be something that we're thinking about in this. Am I incorrect in my reading of this? Harry or Ron, could you tell me? Because you all have heard my comments before on the East Side Library.
I'd have to look at the actual dollars, but as far as received state funding, we do receive some state funding, and as indicated here, I don't know if it's adequate for, adding additional service, but there's no reason why we can't look at it and see if we can do it.
But it is a possible source of funding for future, if we put something like that on the list.
I think
Okay.
so.
Forgive me, thank you.
Anything else?
Commissioner Sauls, and because I have to go to class now, Commissioner, I apologize. I did want to make the comment that under the marketing study, under aviation, and I appreciate you taking us the scenic route, but I'm just skipping around a little bit. I'm on the Tallahassee Regional Airport, and there's $100,000 there, I guess $1 million, for the marketing study. I believe there's a couple of marketing studies, but in next year, we really need to market, y'all, this study. We need to build the Washington, D.C. route, and since I see this money here, I believe that efforts to talk about that direct flight to Washington, D.C., nation's capital, state capital, nation's capital, that right there can be a big boon. And I've traveled that route. I think that we got something special, and we ought to ignite a fire under the direct flight convenience of leaving Tallahassee to Washington, D.C., and we're not crowing about that loud enough. And I would like to see emphases on that and making sure that we're taking advantage of a very cheap flight, direct flight, convenient flight. Please, I hope we could include that in our marketing aspects. Madam Chair, I hate to leave. God, I hate to
We're going
leave.
to miss the best.
Mary Ann Lindley might spend this money today, and I'm not here. I know you wouldn't spend this money behind my back, would you? Could I trust you?
A couple more of y'all leave.
Jesus.
Small campus is supposed to spend everything in a small campus.
Now, I'm leaving.
We're not spending any money unless we move on.
Council, I'm trusting this table to do me right. Now, Mr. Williams, please don't let them do me wrong because I leave. All right. Thank you all. I have to go to class. Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, you got my back. Okay.
Okay, we're under deletions and move-outs for Leon County. The first one, as mentioned, the Lake Ella pedestrian improvements. The project is still going forward. It's just indicating the DOT management of the project. The second one, Magnolia Drive CSX Railroad Bridge. This was for some slope work. The project was deleted because the work was accomplished by maintenance forces, so the work was done, but just not as a standalone project. The next two for the right-of-way and construction, Capitol Circle at 90, as mentioned earlier, that's now been moved and included in a resurfacing project. And then the Franklin Boulevard from Cascade Park to US 90 project there, those funds were moved to the Capitol Cascades Bridge in current year, fiscal year 13. The last one on the page listed under Other, Capitol Circle Northwest from 90 to I-10. The department was able to advance an additional $1 million on that payback from 14 to 13. And that's all for Leon County unless there are further questions. Are we ready to proceed with Wakulla? In Wakulla County, the first project, a new resurfacing project on Woodville Highway from US 98 to the Leon County line, designed in the first year construction in fiscal year 16.
I have a comment on that one, if I could, briefly. I tried to get in on 319, and I think our board, and I know our citizens, would really like to see landscape islands added to these projects. And I'm mentioning this because it's at preliminary engineering right now. I tried to get some at the county line, or at least at the intersections on 319, instead of having a concrete barrier or a striped area. And I'm only saying this for y'all to consider, at least when we come to an intersection, I think we'd be willing to maintain it even. I know that's been a point of contention in the past, but now's the time for me to speak up and say we'd like to see some landscaping somewhere in these, at least in the intersections where you have the lane breaks and stuff like that, so.
Okay.
Makes a tremendous difference.
Yes, it does. I mean, just putting a couple trees out there, or we'll put palmetto bushes. You can't kill those if you try to. And,
Make a special request for landscaping.
yes, I tried to get some on 319 before they even started. It's like, whoa, can we do something? And eyes on the prize.
The next project for Wakulla County, Surf Road, Ochlockonee Bay Trail, Phase 5A. This one is listed for construction in fiscal year 15. This one was mentioned earlier under a prior agenda item with a request to advance that. And I had some information. Harry had already sent me an email requesting that be looked at, so we will certainly pursue to see what our options can be to advance that from 15 to 14, as I know the county was hopeful we would be able to do. The next project is a new, not a new county outreach project, small county outreach project, but it's an advancement of an existing one from 15 to 14 on Bostic Pelt Road for widening and resurfacing the lanes. Once again, with that additional SCOT money, we were able to advance some projects. The next one is a new SCOT project, County Road 373, Spring Hill Road from 267 to the Leon County line, and that is widening from 22 feet to 24 feet and resurfacing as submitted by the county. The next one, Shadeville Highway from 61 to Wakulla Springs Road, is a new small county road assistance program or SCRAP project in fiscal year 16 as submitted by the county for resurfacing.
Are these ones, some people mentioned earlier about trying to get sidewalk incorporated into these, or of course, you know I've always advocated for that, but I just want to put a bug in your ear about that too. Because we, unlike Leon County, we don't have a lot of sidewalks. We have a lot of people walking on the side of the road.
Then the last listing highlighted for Wakulla County Bike Pedestrian Network Development, and that's indicating the movement of those funds to fund Phase 5A of the Ochlockonee Bay Trail, the one that we just mentioned that we're going to look at the possibility of advancing.
Is that it?
That concludes Wakulla County, yes ma'am.
Any other questions? We've had a lot of questions during this presentation, but any other questions at this time?
Thank you for making
Thank
that
you very
interesting.
much.
I have copious notes, thank you.
Good job.
Actually, Jim.
Thank you very much for your time.
Commissioner Daly.
Yeah, I don't have a question as much as a comment. And Ms. Battles, thank you very much for the presentation. That was fantastic. And District Secretary, it's good to see you. We've had a chance to work on a couple different projects in the past as well. And I just want to go on the record registering some concern that I did have in regards to when we have these projects, no matter what the project is, and we've talked specifically about some. I know that the governor is extremely interested in jobs and keeping people to work. So are we. We talk about it all the time with our own local economic development. I would encourage you to whatever extent you can to utilize our local workforce or even on the district level when at all possible. And I'll give you a specific example. First of all, let me compliment you. You did a tremendous job with the landscaping at I-10 and Thomasville Road. Love it. Fantastic job. I have to tell you though, I caught a lot of grief And therefore, Harry caught a lot of grief from me with the fact that it was a Gainesville landscaping company that received the contract to do that when we have Tallahassee Nurseries that's not even a mile up the road, let alone any landscaper in Leon County, Jefferson, Wakulla, Gaston County, not even in the district. And that is very hard to defend as a local county commissioner. I mean, I live on Live Oak Plantation Road. I saw it every day coming out, and every day I had my neighbors calling up going, why do I have a Gainesville landscaping contractor who has this job and not somebody locally? And I even heard that the plants were even being brought in from Gainesville. The plants weren't even bought locally. And so I would just want to register that complaint and encourage DOT, especially on the district level, whenever possible, please use our local workforce. I'm sure any other community across the state would feel the same way. I'm sure down in Gainesville, they don't want to see Tallahassee landscapers doing the job as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to bring that up and put it on the record as well.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Anything else at this point? Okay, that was a discussion item, so we need to move on to 5B. Harry?
This item is just a request that the safety grant, which we discussed at the last meeting for the teen driver program, be moved into the UPWP so that the funds can be expended.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Is this a roll call vote, Harry?
No, ma'am, this is just an approval.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, item number B.
The next item is the 6th Avenue sidewalk, which we've discussed, and this is an update on that, and the approval to move forward with this is one that the city will be doing the project as far as the design and construction.
I move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Discussion. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you. Harry, I brought this up in our briefing, and I just wanted to bring it up today to see if you had an update, but also, I was going to say raise it before my city commissioner colleagues, but it's for you, Nancy. Yeah, colleague, yes. The front porch, which is just the old shape here, that's just been remodeled at the corner of Thomasville Road and 6th Avenue. Harry, I'll just say this for background, and then if you've had a conversation, please let us know. The owners there expressed some concern to me recently because they had wanted to put in a stairway. There is an existing stairway down to Thomasville Road, but they'd like to have it at the corner, which makes a lot of sense. If we they've removed the fencing. If we put people off right at the corner where the crosswalk is and improving pedestrian access there. I discussed this with Harry, and he thought there wasn't a problem there, but the owners felt that there was some problems from city, and that's all they said, from the city. So I raised that, wanting to get Harry's comment on it, but if it is a problem with traffic or utilities or something else on the city side, Commissioner Miller, if you could take that back, I'd greatly appreciate it, and let me know. But Harry, did you have any conversations on this?
I wasn't able to talk to Chad Keswell, but I'm going to try to call him this afternoon. Just to give you some background, we had a conversation when we were first looking at the alternatives, and not many people realize it, but the wall that's on the south side of 6th Avenue is actually 15 feet into the public right-of-way. So part of the discussion is how are we going to have a wide sidewalk? And so what ended up happening is that rather than deal with that, we went out and talked to them, find out what their plans were, looking at the improvements. And so what we ended up looking at is, as you can see from the diagrams that are in the agenda package, is we're actually looking at taking the lane out, which would then allow us to do it without touching that wall. But part of the discussion we had with them is the possibility of an entryway from the corner coming up diagonally into to the front porch, and which would be on the corner right there where the pole is right now. Actually would go into that, and they were very interested in doing that, as well as the possibility of donating some additional right-of-way on the Thomasville side to widen the sidewalk to 10 feet.
In fact, just to piggyback on that, in a subsequent I've had a couple of conversations with the owners there, and they are so excited about increased pedestrian access. They really are interested in talking to us or the city about donating whatever right-of-way they can. But I think an entry point at this corner versus midway in the property fits with our goals to increase pedestrian access. I mean, it makes sense to bring people down to the crosswalk there. So is there anything, I mean, I know you're going to have a conversation with Chad, but would you please refer that information to the city in case there are any issues on electric or traffic or anything like that on the city side to see if we can move this forward? And I'd love to have an update just since they contacted me, but I understand this isn't necessarily a county issue.
Yeah, I thought there were going to be stairs. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought there were going to be stairs going up to the property on the south side of Gadsden.
Well, that was just part of the conceptual drawing. That was not the side. The current stairway is actually on the Thomasville side.
That small one that's in, like,
Right.
from when it was a house. I
Right,
guess, probably.
yeah, right. Well, we'd look
So
at
you're
more.
talking about closing that one and then having a stairway come down at the corner of the property? Is that what
Right.
you're looking at? Do we have any access issues onto Thomasville that are?
No, no, all that property is currently owned by the public.
You look like you have something to say.
I was just going to say, we worked with them early on when they were renovating the place, and we actually talked to them about the stairs and did some conceptual stuff, but it was deemed at that time that it was a little early in the process. This is more about the hardscape and what we could do out there pedestrian-wise. As this plan comes in, the front porch will probably take a lot more active role, and I think the step idea is going to come into play. They were real excited about that. We did talk to them.
I wanted to mention it now, and I brought it up in the briefing because I don't want this to get left behind, so I appreciate your comments there. If we're going to do sidewalk work in that location, if it requires, I mean, and I can only guess what was meant by there's some concerns at the city, so I don't know what that was, but I thought that might be utilities or electric or something like that. If anything needs to be shifted, it would be unfortunate to move forward with the sidewalks without addressing the stair issue first. So I'm glad you all are thinking about it, and I can leave it for there.
Okay, well, there's something that, with your concurrence of the design that we're talking about, the next step is for the city to begin the design work. They'll take that up at their next meeting and approve that LAP agreement to begin the design of the project.
Okay, do we have any action on this?
Motion to approve?
We will.
Have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is designation of the CRTPA Chair and Vice Chair.
Would you,
Ms.
is the
Minutes,
floor
the-
open for nominations?
Yes, floor is open for nominations.
Commissioner Miller for chair.
Second.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second for Commissioner Miller as Chair.
What? Oh, I didn't even know.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Commissioner Deloge.
I'd like to make a motion for Commissioner Merritt for Vice Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Commissioner Merritt for Vice Chair. Any further discussion? All those in
Lord help
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign,
called a
motion
draft.
carries unanimously. Where are we?
Let's see what else.
Next item is the designation of the MPOAC representative and alternate. Currently, Commissioner Madison is the representative with alternates Commissioner Dozier and Commissioner Maddox.
Move that stay the same.
Second.
Motion and a second for them to remain the same. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries and will remain, keep the same two that we had.
Okay. 5F has been pulled. My executive report is just to point out that we did have some time extensions at no cost on some of our general planning consultant projects, and the draft congestion management process plan is on the website for your review. It'll be brought up in January for approval. And just final item I'd like to say is I had a number of articles that we put in there, but one of the ones I wanted to mention to you is that, which we will be bringing up in January, is that in the APA Planning Magazine, we've been prominently mentioned for the sustainability calculator. So it's one of the things that's a forward-moving thing. So I'll be sending that article out to you to have the opportunity to read it, but we're one of 3 places in the nation that are actually starting to look at fiscal impacts for future development and what we're going to do to try to do that. So those are the things that I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Proctor, before he left, asked that he's concerned about the Spring Hill Road. Harry, can you kind of bring us an update on that?
Yes, ma'am. What we've been doing is this, is that Spring Hill Road from Capitol Circle to Stadium Drive, or to the stadium, is actually 2 segments. The piece from Spring Hill from Capitol Circle to Orange Avenue is a county road, and from that point further to the north, it's a state road. So we're looking at that as part of it. The city's been looking at some gateway treatments to possibly do that. We want to get with the state about it, but it needs to be something we include as part of our regional mobility plan update and identify it as a need. You know, from a justification standpoint, when you talk about traffic, it's just not there right now, and so that's one of the things. So, but if it's something we want to include as part of a blueprint project, we'll certainly work to do that. We're also looking at trying to do what they want to do as far as extending the limits of SIS projects, and maybe we can include part of it there. So it's all part of our efforts to bring that into the thing. And I realize it is an entryway, so we can certainly look at trying to make those improvements.
Anything from other members? Commissioner Lindley?
Can I just ask about, how is an area designated as a gateway? I mean,
Make it up.
seems like it's a term of art, kind of, and I just wondered.
As far as the funding is concerned from the federal and state, the gateway doesn't mean anything unless it ends up being part of the strategic intermodal system, and I'll sit down and explain to you what that is. But that's part of what it would be from that standpoint. So, but you know, if something that the locals want to do, then that's certainly something we'll promote.
So those of us who are new, our ears perk up when we hear this term gateway and think, well, is this something?
You need to start using it too, then.
We need to
That and
start
sense of
talking.
place,
And
and you'll
sense of
fit right
place.
in.
I am all over language.
I need a list of all the acronyms too.
You get all the buzzwords.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Daly, and then we'll work around this end down here.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question, Harry, can you tell us what is the timeline for the Safe Routes to Schools additional study to come back to us? There's a lot of talk about sidewalks.
Thank you.
My hesitation is that we have deemed that as to be the priority. Safe Routes to School program, are we reevaluating, and what is that timeline?
Well, we should be having something come back in the spring as far as preliminaries. I hope to have this finished by the fall of next year.
So a year from now?
No, it would be sooner. So I would suspect September it would be the time frame that we'd have the final report, but you'll have intermittent reports on this. Probably in March, we'll have an update as to where they are with what they found so far, some things that they're doing.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea what we're doing, we've already met with the school board and the district advisory council and discussed it with them about it. The consultant's going to each one of the schools. We'll meet with the principals and survey the schools and the surrounding areas. As we said, look at the bus stops and those types of issues related to it, identify those problem areas. The school district can get additional funding if we have identified a hazardous route to school, and so for bus pickup. So that's part of what that process will all be, but that's what we'll be doing. But each one of the schools will have an individual action plan.
But part of one of the major parts of the study is to identify the gaps where there's not a sidewalk to that school within a 2-mile residential area within that school.
Yes, we'll include it as part of the overall bike and pedestrian plans, or the sidewalk plans, and those things, yes.
It'll be part of the overall approval, but it will be brought back as a deficiency specifically in Safe Routes to School. And that's going to take a year to get this back.
That's when the final study will be done, no, but like I said, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner
Just as a comment, we should have it ready for you to make priority decisions before the next work program.
Okay. All right. And just, let me just put all the cards on the table. My concern is that we've had discussions, this body, for several years now, specifically Safe Routes to Schools. And Commissioner Lindley, what that is there is a program that's been adopted also by Leon County Schools that basically says they want to encourage families to either walk or take alternative modes of transportation, bike, whatever, if you live within a 2-mile radius of a public school. But we have problems in our community, and I don't know how bad it is in some of the other communities as well. I imagine we all have the problems, that if you live within a 2-mile radius of that school, if you do not have a sidewalk, you should be considered a priority for sidewalks. And so I have personal interest in this because my neighborhood's been working through the process for several years now to try to get sidewalks, because we fall right in the middle of this area as well. I am concerned about adding new sidewalks to list and priority list and moving forward before we have even seen the new report in conjunction with Leon County Schools, at least for the Leon County area, for Safe Routes to Schools. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Crowley.
Well, briefly, I just wanted to say to everyone how much the people in Gadsden County appreciate having the construction begun on the first phase of that Quincy bypass. And I'm calling it first phase because we do need the second phase to the north to completely alleviate the problem. Commissioner Madison was out of town at that time, certainly made mention of your ongoing support of that, Commissioner. I want to thank very sincerely Commissioner Deloge for his attendance. He certainly was there and heard all of the good things that were said. And, you know, I want to remind you, for here in Leon County, you oftentimes don't appreciate this, but if you don't know, that's the first new state road that has been constructed in that county since I-10 was put through. That's a long time. I'm not going to say there hasn't been improvements made to the roads, but that's the first new road. And the people, just the rank and file folks, are very excited about that. And I'm going to close on this note. The Gadsden Arts Center downtown, which has been heavily affected by this truck traffic, had 27,000 visitors last year and 23,000 so far this year. And so many of them come from across the region, and I have seen many of you attend the different events there, so you well know what a resource that is to our region. And I just want you to, again, stop and take a moment, and whether you're in Leon or Jefferson or wherever, Wakulla, and think about you're making a difference. And it took a long time. And Commissioner Sauls, thank you so much for all you've done this year to make that happen. And Harry, you and your staff, DOT, Tommy Barfield was there. We appreciate that. Everyone, federal folks, and can't say enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Merritt.
2 brief items. Harry, we're getting money programmed in 2016 for Wakulla Aaron Road intersection. I notice there's nothing here for PD&E or no design. I assume we're going to use the plans that came off the shelf. Anyway, I just wanted to throw my hat in again about the landscaping. If that'd be a perfect place for it. I know you're not doing the plans or whatever, but when we get to the 10% or adoption of plans part, I'd like to see, some landscaping possibly to make a gateway into Crawfordville.
I think that's something we bring up as part of the feasibility study, the DOT is doing, to include that as part of those future plans.
Tommy's gone, but I just want to keep it fresh on
Okay,
my mind.
I'll make sure he gets a word.
And another thing, we talked about this, I guess on the Woodville corridor study, isn't the plan now to make kind of a big roundabout right where Woodville Highway and Crawfordville Highway come together? That was the last concept. Anyway, one of my first meetings, I talked about the stretch of road between the main post office past FAMU to the 2 one-way pairs. I just want to keep that fresh in everybody's mind, too. That'd be a big help, I think, for our citizens to get into the downtown area. It goes from 4-lane to a 2-lane in front of FAMU, then back to a nice, very expensive 2 one-way pair bridge over railroads. It's very underutilized, in my opinion, because it's just a one-way, it's a 2-way road going to it. And just want to keep that on y'all's mind to think about. Y'all got all the money, so.
Commissioner Miller.
A couple things. First of all, Somebody needs to check, because it seems like to me Spring Hill Road was on Tier 2 of the original blueprint list. So it's not a new discussion, and we need to keep that in mind. One of the reasons it's not on the city's list for the tax committee is that I knew it was on your list. So not that I wasn't personally interested in having it on our list. So just wanted to make you aware of that. I think that Commissioner Proctor is absolutely right. It's underutilized. It needs to be the gateway from the airport. We don't have a gateway from the airport. I agree with everything that you've all said about dark and all this, because it's been a problem. But it's been now a problem in my personal lifetime for the last 15 years, and so I'd like to address that somewhere in my lifetime. Secondarily, about the sidewalks, I think that, as you all know, last time it was the Magnolia Street sidewalk that we were all talking about, and now today that moving on out on Lafayette Street / St. Augustine Road out on, I don't know how far out you want to go, but for sure to Blairstone and hopefully to Capitol Circle. I mean, these are areas where we're investing a tremendous amount of local money just to try to make these areas walkable. And those two pieces, the Lafayette Street piece and the piece, I mean, you guys, the county is getting ready to put major sidewalk work in on Lafayette Street inside of Magnolia, in between Magnolia and town. So to finish off this package, if we can all keep in mind that Magnolia Street sidewalk and also St. Augustine all the way, at least, it would be nice to Capitol Circle, but at least to Blairstone Road.
Commissioner Maddox and then Commissioner Hoosier. Commissioner Maddox will wind it up.
Commissioner Dozier, are you?
Okay. I actually thought you were going to go ahead of me, so I'll make a comment on what I think you're going to make a comment on, but.
Well, you can let me go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're going to bring up those sidewalks?
Yeah, my question is just real quick. I think, Commissioner Miller, my point in bringing it up was Canopy Roads is a very sensitive thing here in Leon County. And maybe, I think, St. Augustine is one that we have to consider, but maybe it's a bigger question there in what's the pedestrian traffic like on, say, about 3 or 4 of our most heavily traveled Canopy roads? And what can we do as far as pedestrian safety on those roads? So maybe along with the St. Augustine stuff that we're talking about, maybe we do a study that comes, that's what we do, we study. Maybe we do a study that comes back that looks at those roads in particular and looks at what safety enhancements we can put into those roads, whether it be sidewalks or whatever, that will keep people from walking in the middle of the road. Because that's what's happening. I mean, I was coming from Vertigo, and it was nighttime. Thank God I had my lights on. It was about 6:30. It was a guy walking dead in the middle of St. Augustine Road. If I had my lights on, he would have been hit. And I'm a good driver. But, I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, I mean, on top of just St. Augustine Road, what about just doing a study looking at Canopy roads and which ones are most heavily traveled and what kind of safety provisions we could put in for those pedestrians that want to walk or bike those roads? I mean, I would like to know what this board would think about that, but I think we got to consider doing something. I understand the sensitivity of Canopy roads. I love them just as much as anybody else, but we got to do something.
Thank you,
Could
Commissioner
I
Dozier.
respond to that just on point? At some point, you've got to have an end point. I mean, the Canopy roads go to Miccosukee and they go to Centerville, and so.
Well, that's why I say just look at the ones that have heavy pedestrian travelers on it. I mean, not all of them. I'm not saying we include all of them, but just one, like Centerville was pedestrian traffic on it. Just St. Augustine Road, pedestrian traffic on it. What are the other ones that you guys may know of that have a lot of pedestrian traffic? Let's look at them, see how much is there, and see if it warrants us going an extra step of trying to manipulate the ways around to get around the trees and the canopy scene there to get a sidewalk on those roads. That's all I'm saying. Not all of them. Just the ones that have heavy pedestrian traffic that are appropriate.
On that, Madam Chair, on that particular point, I think it would help me if we articulated a little better what segments we were talking about. Because if I take you correctly, the segment of Lafayette between Governor Square Mall area and Capitol Circle, that may have wider right-of-ways than after Capitol Circle when you're leading out into the unincorporated area. Similarly with Miccosukee Road, there might be, I know we've looked at this before, areas for sidewalks between Capitol Circle and Capitol Medical, but beyond that, I will say from my perspective, it's not the perspective of the board, we are going to face this conflict as long as we have canopy roads in this community, because some people absolutely don't think we should have canopy roads, hands down. And the bikers want more space, and walkers want more space, but I'd argue that bikers aren't going to go to the road if it's not a canopy road. I personally think that there's enough of an attachment and identification with canopy roads in this community that we're not going to alter some of our, long segments of those canopy roads. But if there are certain segments, like on Lafayette up to Capitol Circle or to Capitol Medical Boulevard, that we want to look at, I would be open to that. So if you could, I don't know how we do this, but if we looked at segments, that would be fine. And I think we need to be careful, because if the public hears we're looking at a study of sidewalk and canopy roads, this chamber is going to be packed. So if we're going to do this, my suggestion would be that we look at certain segments that might have more be heavily used by pedestrians. Now, a guy walking in the middle of the road at night, we might not be able to solve that problem. That just happens, particularly near campus. So, that's just the way it goes.
I think you put it great. I think, can we ask for that? Is that fine with you? I mean, let's just take that particular segment of St. Augustine Road that Commissioner Miller brought up. I'm fine with just settling with that, just that segment, because I think that is that important.
Yeah.
So that's fine with me if that makes you more comfortable.
Harry had something.
I would ask if you're going to have an agenda item on this,
Yeah.
please put it at the end of the meeting.
So you can leave?
Yeah, we can leave.
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
You're going to be the chair.
If
No,
there's-
You can't leave.
Especially if it's going to be packed.
You don't want that?
Let me just comment on the issue of the canopy road from Lafayette up to Blairstone. That's part of something we want to try to look at as part of this initiative that we've got, that we were going to make the improvements to Lafayette Street. And since we've done that as part of another project, this enhancement grant can probably look at that. I've already gone out and talked to some people about this possibility. But I think what we want to really look at in relationship to this is part of the regional mobility plan update. As I've talked to several of you about is we want to really kind of create that network of what the future is for the build-out and put that layers in there and begin to really look at these things and see what our opportunities are. There are opportunities, I know, on some of the canopy roads, as you said, on Centerville. There's a path that's there that, that may be something we can continue depending on what the right-of-way is. I've been told by others that some of the undergrowth that we have on the canopy roads is basically invasive, and if you get rid of that, there may be ways to wind a small trail through that type of thing. So these are all types of things we would look at. But, again, it's what you've said is let's identify what they are and where those connections are. And it goes back to the regional trail plan that you talked about, and connecting these things up. So that's what we're really going to try to do in our next update, and have it on a GIS system.
Two very quick things just to finish that out. Commissioner Daley, I'm glad you brought up the safe routes to schools. I was going to bring that up as well, and I think you've got a valid point that while I do believe some of the other sidewalk projects are important that are on our list and that are moving through that pipeline, we need to stay aware all year that this report's coming back, and this is going to likely show us some crucial areas that we need to focus our attention. Harry, I think I brought this up to you before, but should any of us be contacted by neighborhoods that feel they have an issue? I was contacted by one neighborhood in Buck Lake. Someone actually brought in pictures of dozens of teenagers walking down a dark street in the morning while folks were going to work, heading out to their bus stop. if they want to get into this report or make sure that their issues are brought to the attention of the folks doing it, should they go to their principal? Because it will be based on school? Where should they go to bring this information?
Community traffic safety team probably be a good start, too, for this.
Well, one of the ways that we were talking about doing it, there was going to be a survey as part of this process, and we were thinking about using the school system network that they've got where, parents are able to see what homework and assignments are for their children, to use that same thing to put this information out. And so if that's a concern, we want them to address it as part of that survey.
If there is any way to get the parents engaged on this, please let us know how we can do that, or let's go ahead and do it, because I do believe there might be certain pockets. I mean, this is a very short segment of a road leading into a neighborhood, and actually took our staff a moment to think about if it was a private road, city road, or county road, and it happens to be a county road. But I think the parents will be able to identify certain areas like that are particular hazards, particularly since you have high schoolers going to the bus stop in the dark at the same time that it's rush hour getting to work. The second thing, I know we've had a lot of discussion about the Spring Hill Road, and I don't know if this would demand an update from you, Harry, just a real brief update to everybody, not now, but in the future. I do believe that Spring Hill is on the Tier 2 project, but if you look at the city's recent proposal to the Blueprint Extension Committee, the section from Orange Avenue to the stadium is included, and there's substantial improvements, including multiple roundabouts, stormwater improvements, and other things like that from Orange Avenue, or it might be just north of the Orange Avenue, down to the stadium as an entry point. And so I think that, we need to get a better handle on where we stand this, particularly if a lot of people are concerned about it. But I'm also going to toss out, and maybe I'm doing this in a safe space since Commissioner Proctor already had to go to class, but I don't know when the last time I used Spring Hill Road to go to the airport. Depends on where you are and with different sides of town. Certainly if you're coming from the south or west side, you're going to use that road. A lot of folks use other direction. I come through the center of town and just keep going out Orange Avenue. I do not turn on Spring Hill Road. So I think Spring Hill Road needs some improvements. It's heavily pedestrian utilized. We could look at sidewalks, something like that. But as a major, I don't know if Commissioner Proctor was thinking of a 4-lane gateway or something like that, Harry, I think you hit the nail on the head that the traffic is just not at the volume that is going to demand that right now. So if this is going to be a discussion as we go forward, I think we need to bring all those loose ends together on where the current Blueprint 2000, the Blueprint extension, and then really what the use is and what our ideas are for this gateway, because the city has made a proposal that I would think channels more people down Orange Avenue towards Capitol Circle than out Spring Hill Road. And I don't want us to go in a different direction. Thank you.
Any other member, Commissioner Daly?
Yeah, not to belabor the point, but I want to make sure I'm clear on what we're bringing back, this item on canopy roads and sidewalks. Explain to me exactly what it is that we're bringing back. Is it a safety issue? Is it a bike ped issue? Is it both? Is it just the designated canopy roads? Are we involving the citizen committee? I'm very confused about what we're bringing.
I was thinking about including it as part of the regional mobility update, which we'll be bringing the scope of work back to you in March and moving that, or actually January, and moving that project forward. And so it'll be something, it'll be an iteration we'll do over the next year, following year, of looking at that. But if you want to do something special, just to look at those in, separate from what we would look at as far as the whole pedestrian network, then that would be a different issue, and that's something we would look at from that standpoint.
Let me rephrase that. Are we bringing back just a St. Augustine Road, Miccosukee Road, or are we looking at Old Bainbridge? Are we looking at Meridian? Are we looking at all the designated canopy roads, or are we just talking about St. Augustine and Miccosukee?
And to that point, I think we've already looked at Miccosukee between Capitol Circle and Capitol Medical. I wasn't trying to open that up. I was using it as an example. If the particular section that Commissioner Maddox is concerned about is the Lafayette to Blairstone area, or,
Lafayette,
you know,
Blairstone.
yeah, to St. Augustine and Lafayette Street down to Blairstone.
Right.
I'd be a fan of looking at that piece alone, but that was part of my comments, Commissioner Daly, is I don't want to open this up to all canopy roads everywhere. That would be my preference.
Gotcha. You mentioned McSookie. Where are McSookie?
Don't know you want to bring it up.
All right.
Okay, any other
One more.
member? Oh,
I want to get in on the Spring Hill Road thing too, since y'all kept talking about it. That's one of our three main north-south roads, other than Woodville Highway, Crawford Highway, and Spring Hill is how our people get back and forth to work. So any of your money you spend on that intersection by the airport and the wastewater plant and getting people into town is much appreciated.
Is it not
Now-
also an evacuation route for your people?
I'm sure it could be. It's a gateway.
I didn't want to downplay that at all. We do have a lot of traffic coming in there. I think improvements would be necessary. I think we need to think about it in the context of the other.
I agree.
That's all.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that
Yeah.
there. I'm sure, like you said, you don't use it to go to the airport, but I know a lot of
A lot
our
of
people
folks
do
do.
use it to get back and forth to work, and anything we can take off of 319 just will delay. We don't have the money to them before landed anyway, so anything would help.
Are there any members of the audience that wish to speak?
You've been a member of the audience this week.
Move to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Before,
Okay, Ms. Madison.
okay, I don't know, Harry, you going to do your executive report? Was that it?
He's already done it.
Oh, okay. I just want to mention to everyone, I know that you all seen on the television, and if I'm out of order, please tell me, Attorney and Mayor, Chair, that the Tallahassee Boys Choir has received an invitation to go to Washington DC to sing for Christmas, during the Christmas ceremony up there. And what I am asking of each of you is that, as you know, they get the invitations, but they don't always have the funds to get there. And if you all would please find it in your heart and be in the Christmas spirit to give us a generous donation from, and I don't know if you can, but if you can, I would really appreciate it, to the Tallahassee Boys Choir to help them make this trip. And if you cannot make a donation, your prayers would be greatly appreciated, because we are looking at 80 young little boys that is going to be going up to Washington in December, and it's probably going to be snowing at that time, that they have a safe trip up there and back.
Thank you.
Just one final comment. Ron Garrison left, but I just want to let you know that this is his last meeting. He's accepted a job, and will be another job, and we'll be leaving by the first of the year.
Hey, anything further? Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, ma'am. Second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Excuse me.